just started recording, so we can get started anytime you want there, buddy.
Just trying to caffeinate away this hangover. Get a bit ready. Yeah. Okay, well, I think the first thing we need to do is just show the
Obviously, we got to
t-shirt
show
game.
off the, yeah.
Skynet versus Tech Noir.
Obviously
We are in
rocking-
uniform. Ready to go. We like to watch. Nice. Being there. Bit of Peter Sellers. Hey, Brian. G'day, mate. How's it going? Oh, look at this. We've got, Scott's around as well. Oh, got more than enough to begin the game.
All right, let's do it. So, what's that image you got on your screen there? Is that your favorite Terminator film? Is that what's going on?
Oh, no.
Oh, wait a minute. Wait
No.
a minute.
Screw that up.
I must have
There
hit
we
the wrong
go.
button. You must have hit we must have hit the wrong button, both of us.
Here we go. Okay, now we're talking action. Now we're talking. Okay. So, we're doing the Terminator films. It's as simple as that.
Fuck yes.
On the left-hand side, costing $6 million, doing a budget of $6 million and coming in with a box office of around $78 million, we have Terminator 1, the film that fucking changed the face of sci-fi forever and inspired countless fucking rip-offs, knockoffs, and homages. And in the right-hand corner, costing $100 million, the most expensive film ever made in the history of the fucking universe up to that time, grossing over $700 million goddamn dollars, we have Terminator 2. Let's get ready to rumble.
I'm fucking stoked for this.
Yeah, I mean, well, I mean, we both watched the films we both watched the films this week. I watched actually the trilogy last night, all of them back to back. How about you?
Yep, and I watched all three of them. I watched all three the other night, and this is a discussion. Just so we're clear, this is a discussion on Terminator 1 and Terminator 2. But we're both of the opinion that the third one is worth having a small discussion about at some point during this show. So
yeah, there's a small footnote on, but yeah. And the other thing so we have promoted this like it's going to be a debate or it's going to be an argument. The truth is, both of us have watched the film, and they're both fucking fantastic. Like this is purely going to come down to a subjective point of view for the most part, and what type of film we prefer. That's the one thing that became abundantly clear again last night. I actually tried to approach it last night like I'd never seen the films before, and I didn't know which one I preferred, even though I've always preferred the first one. I tried to look at it that way again, and yeah, the truth is that there isn't really. They're both fantastic. They're both fucking top shelf in what they're trying to accomplish and what they accomplish, right?
Absolutely, 100%. I feel like this is a largely subjective topic. Like the Terminator film, I feel like there's certain films that are just kind of like like what's your favorite Quentin Tarantino movie? Whatever your answer is, I'm fine with. Like if you tell me if I ask you what your favorite Lethal Weapon movie is, whatever your answer is, I'm fine with.
That's not true at all. There is clearly a best Lethal Weapon film, and they slide down really quick, and 3 and 4 are. Yeah.
I disagree. I'm fine with I feel like it's a subjective. The Terminator.
Cinema is subjective, but there's very few films in the history of the world that have an original and a sequel where it is like it is with this. The other one, of course, is Alien versus Aliens.
Yeah,
it really comes down to the same dynamic as this. Do you prefer a horror film or do you prefer a big budget popcorn spectacle? That's pretty much what it comes down to with Alien and Aliens. That's what it comes down to with Terminator and Terminator 2.
Yeah.
And then the other one, of course, is Godfather 1 and 2. There is no wrong answer with Godfather 1 or 2. And the only other one I can think of is A New Hope versus Empire Strikes Back as well. It's a sequel that's just as good as the original, and I mean, in the case of Empire, it's still doing the same thing. Whereas these are distinctly different genres. Like Terminator 1 and Terminator 2 are two different genres, right?
Yeah, the Alien Aliens is like the most easy comparison to make, honestly, because for one, they're both fucking James Cameron helmed, and it's very much the difference between a low key original versus a over the top sequel that fucking fires on all cylinders. So and shockingly, no fucking surprise, I fall in the aliens camp versus Alien. So
and I fall on Alien. Just for the record, we won't waste another podcast having that discussion as well. But I'm Alien, the first Alien, Ridley Scott's fucking thing. When my cage is rattled and I'm and intensity is high, that film is going to resonate. And that's the case with both of these once we get into it. And Alien, I mean, and again, but I'm not going to badmouth Aliens. I think that as far as popcorn, it's same as Terminator 2, as far as popcorn spectacle goes, fucking top. There is nothing more you can ask. And James Cameron is a master at it.
And oddly with Aliens versus Terminator 2, for me, the only way to watch Terminator 2 is the director's cut. And for Aliens, I prefer the theatrical cut, oddly enough.
That's interesting, because I'm actually with both of them. James Cameron is one of the few directors where the director's cuts across the board are my choice. I love the Aliens director's cut because of Newt, that you get to know the family a little more. I really, really like that. And I like a lot of but I mean, that just builds a lot more to the story and to the terraforming and to
I agree that it does do that, but at the same time, I feel like it's too much extra padding on a movie that's already pretty long for what it is. Aliens is a pretty fucking long movie by itself, and the director's cut's like an extra almost half hour. So it becomes almost like a 3-hour movie. Which just for that is just, I feel too long. But oddly, Alien 3, I think is like, and sometimes I prefer watching Alien 3 to the first one. I think the Alien 3 is fucking awesome.
Well, see, Alien 3 is actually my second favorite in the genre. I like it more than Aliens. I'm not necessarily saying it's a better film than Aliens. I'm just saying that I watch Alien and Alien 3 more. But speaking of 3-hour films, we shouldn't make this a 3-hour podcast. We should get onto the topic at hand.
Let's fucking do it.
I'm just looking at the comments here, and Jeremy weighs in that he prefers Alien, yet prefers Terminator 2, completely blowing my fucking theory out the water, which is good for you. And Ginger's falling on the T2 camp. And we should actually tally up at the end and see who falls on what. So everyone who's watching, chime in with what your choice is on T2 or T1. And then we'll count up at the end and see what the viewers actually say.
Yeah.
Consensus is. And it'll be about as accurate as any other survey that was ever taken by mankind. Right?
Let's fucking dive in, man. Let's. Why don't you start things out? Like, you're the one who loves Terminator more than the original Terminator more than me. So why don't you kick things off with Terminator 1?
Well, Terminator 1. Jesus Christ. I watching it last night. It is still a hell of. I mean, it should be mentioned too. The last time that I saw this film was with you when you presented it as part of cult screenings on the big screen. So the last time I saw this film we got to watch it on a giant fucking IMAX screen. It was the biggest goddamn screen you can imagine. And we saw Terminator 1 and Terminator 2 together, thanks to care of Buddy Boy here, who hosted, I've got to get used to the directional thing, who hosted a screening of the two of them. And it was just gobsmacking how well those films fucking hold up on a big monster screen. And it was really, really satisfying. And when I watched it then, I was like, I can step away from it, because I watch these films every year, at least once a year. They're comfort food. They definitely fall into comfort food.
Yeah.
But I haven't watched them since we actually watched them together. So, and I only realized that last night. It made me a little sad, because now I'm on the other side of the world and I'll never get to watch them on the big screen again with you. And so, yeah, that was the first thing, was that it had actually been a little bit of time since I'd seen it. Because I think, how long ago was that? 2 years, 3 years?
That was probably like 3 years ago, yeah.
Yeah. So it'd been probably the longest it's been in a long time that I'd spent away from the films. And yeah, immediately, it just is a strikingly fucking original film in its context and everything. I still remember when it came out. I was actually in hospital when I found out it existed. I was getting my appendix out when I was like 12 or 13. Can't remember, 1984. So yeah, about 12 or 13. And my parents were really, really strict when it came to violence in films. And I wasn't allowed to see any R-rated films, and I wasn't allowed to see a lot of M-rated films either. M is an Australian rating for 15 and over. But my parents allowed me to read anything I wanted. I was allowed to, hey, I want to read the Marquis de Sade at 11. Mum was like, sure, here's the Marquis de Sade, knock yourself out. I want to read. So I wasn't allowed to see the film, but I ended up reading the novelizations of pretty much everything that came down the pipe that was R-rated. And so I still remember Mum coming into the hospital when I was in recovery and giving me the novelization of Terminator and going, there you go. And so I actually had read the novelization probably 6 or 7 times before I ever saw the film. And I didn't actually see it on the big screen on regional run because of that R rating. It wasn't until it was on VHS was the first time I saw it. And it was just fucking incredible. And because I'd read it and visualized it and had all that back information because I had my own imagination in it, I think it actually elevated the film to even higher standards than what I might have had if I'd just seen it straight up, because there was also that forbidden fruit element of it. The thing that was interesting though was when I read the book, I wasn't half as fucking scared as I was when I saw the film. Because let's be clear, the Terminator is a fucking slasher. He's Michael Myers. It's an outright horror, regardless of what James Cameron says, calling it a tech noir, because he didn't want to call it a slasher or a horror. You know, he coined that phrase, made the T-shirt, and made the nightclub in the film called Tech Noir, which is obviously a great name for a fucking nightclub too. I mean,
especially in the 80s.
And it's little, sorry?
Especially in the 80s.
Yeah, I mean, it's little things like this are also why I love the fucking film so much. And the fact they actually built this nightclub and stuff, and supposedly in real life, everyone thought it was real and was lining up and shit to get in. And they had to explain, oh, no, this is just a pretend nightclub. We're shooting a film here, Tech Noir. But anyway, back to the film. So yeah, it's, right from the start, right from Brad Fiedel's fucking score, that music, the industrial sound of that music, and the John Carpenter-esque kind of minimalism of that music is so setting up the tone of the entire film that you can close your eyes and picture it, and you kind of know what sort of film you're going to see just off that music. And that's the first thing that always comes through when I watch the film, is just the fucking music. It's so freaking good. Then you've got the set, like the way that the character, I mean, I tend to in these comfort food things always fall on how characters are introduced. But oh my God, when you introduce the T-800 and the first thing the goddamn thing does is firstly come in on the high ground, looking over LA. So strategically, it's already got the high ground and fucking got the view and, everything that any gunfight or anything is trying to get. But then the first thing the fucking do is walk over and just rip Buddy's house straight out. So it rips a heart out within, 2 minutes of being in fucking modern day.
Yeah.
That's how you introduce a fucking character that's going to be a bit of trouble. And that introduction is just so setting the tone of the film. Like the film just so sets itself up so goddamn well right from the start. And there's something that T2 kind of loses because of the fact you've already had all these introductions. And I think that's also part of why I love Terminator 1, is because you never had seen this character before. And so as an introduction to the character and the way you're introduced to it is just so fucking savage. And it's such a brutal scene too, the way it's done, and has the close up of the heart. And it, you really, really fucking see it. Plus just the striking imagery too of Arnold fucking naked. He just is obviously a daunting goddamn fucking figure. And he is, watching the two back to back, like he is significantly larger in the first one too than he is in the second. The second one, he's way more defined and way more ripped. But in the first one, he's just a fucking goddamn monster. He's not quite as big as he was in Conan, but he's, even if he wasn't an indestructible cyborg, you're still not going to want to run across this guy in a fucking dark alley. And that's how Reese is introduced. Like Reese ends up, zap, he lands right in the fucking thick of it right from the start. And that's how you meet Reese. He's like in a dark alley, literally like, boom. You're in it, and he's immediately having to run from the fucking law, and immediately he's got shit. The Terminator's, just strolling, ripping out hearts, and, meeting Bill Paxton, and, taking really, the fashion in the film too is fantastic. Like if you're going to randomly bug two guys or get two things to wear, what recent fucking the T-800 wearer is so fucking cool.
It's almost like, for me, that's one of the things about this movie that has, like, remember we talked about Highlander, and I said there are certain elements of Highlander that are almost so 80s that it like doesn't quite work for me. And that is part of that with Terminator for me, is like the fucking ridiculous, like, the garb that everyone's wearing in it, like Linda Hamilton running around with a fucking awful pink tie-dye shirt and some fucking mom jeans, and like it's just. But
again, if you made a film that was set in the 80s now, you would be dressing people that way. And this is the thing, is because it makes it clear at the start. It's like, this doesn't happen in the future. Remember the opening scroll? It says this doesn't happen in the future. It's happening tonight. Like, which I love the writing of this film too, and that tonight. And so it's so of its time and the time capsule that it totally fits. Like you could, as I said, even if you made it today and it had never existed, you would have to dress the characters that way for 1984. It's just so authentic without having to obviously try.
Yeah, it's for me, it's one of those like aesthetic things. Like clothing in the 80s was just so fucking terrible, and like the characters, and again, like that's why the fucking like when you get into like T2, like T2 is sort of timeless because, everyone's just wearing fucking black. Like everyone's all tactical and black. That one's a little more timeless as far as the aesthetic of it goes, I think. And for me, that kind of makes a difference.
Yeah, see, I in a time travel film, I don't need timelessness. But also, I don't know, I think the dress is still very 90s in Terminator 2
Oh,
as
sure,
well.
some of it is, but for the most part, everyone. I mean, for the most part, it's fucking like he's wearing like black pants and a fucking jacket and stuff, and
Oh yeah, he is. But he's also kind of already sending himself up. Like that's one of the things I don't like about T2 is there's almost a tongue-in-cheek thing to the way Bad to the Bone plays and the sunglasses thing and all of that. That's kind
yeah,
of
we can definitely get into that. Yeah, because I don't
yeah.
disagree with you.
Yeah, but yeah, and so yeah, so I mean, right from the start, you've got this setup. Then you got Reese, and Reese just lands right in the fucking thick of it, and right away, Reese is having to run. He's not in control of the situation. He's not in control of the world he's in. He's already. I mean, the hunter-killer element is already there. The hunter versus killer element, because hunter-killers are actually a thing too in the film. In the future, they have hunter-killers. But yeah, the hunter versus killer thing is already kind of in the future, and the way that it blurs the lines again, because I tried to watch the film not knowing, trying to imagine going into it for the first time, like the way these characters are set up where you obviously know who the good guy and the bad guy is to a degree, but you also immediately see the huge gaping gap between them, and just how, again, much more savage the Terminator is and how daunting a figure that is. And then everything that happens in the first, I mean, that whole film just shows the T-800 as this ruthless killing machine. I mean, it absolutely will not stop. The use of the word absolutely too is such a good writing. Again, just there's a difference between it will not stop and it absolutely will not stop. And Michael Bihn's delivery of that line is so fucking dynamite. And there's the other thing, okay? I mean, T2 does not have Michael Biehn. And I fucking
it does actually.
Michael
the director's
Biehn.
cut does have Michael Biehn in it.
Yeah, no, the director's cut does have Michael Biehn for that scene, and it's a great scene. I mean, even when Fiona and I were watching it last night, we were like, the fact this was cut out in the theatrical is kind of silly because it really resonates.
Yeah.
It adds depth and dimension to the film. I mean, we've
and it also
T2,
goes to like show how fucking far gone she is, like mentally, like as far as
Yeah, but it also shows that bond, that intrinsic bond. I mean, his super sperm that impregnates her after one night, and it's pretty great. And then it's just the setup, and then and that's the other thing that's really cool is going into the film. The one thing that's impossible to shake, however, as much as I was able to imagine, never knowing Reese and never knowing the T-800 until watching it last night, it's impossible not to already see Sarah Connor ripped and as a killing machine in T2 when she turns up dressed like she is, naive, as an 18-year-old. I mean, she's meant to be 18 in the first film.
Is she really? Wow.
Yeah. She's meant to be 18 because I can't remember, at some stage in one of the two films, they actually say that she had John when she was 19. Yeah. So she's an 18-year-old, and she really, although obviously Sarah Connor, like obviously Linda Hamilton or her identical twin sister, whoever it may be at the time, is obviously in her mid-20s, probably, I'd estimate. She's meant to be 18, and the way her hair's teased up and stuff, and just there's a real innocence, and especially compared to what, again, the fashion choice, although, there's the fashion of what Reese and the Terminator are wearing versus what she's wearing when you first see her on a moped zip into a restaurant, and totally being a victim, like the way they immediately set her up as a victim, that little fucking turd of a kid that you always want to punch that puts the ice cream in her pocket, in her apron, and, just how inconsequential and lacking in agency she is in her own life. And then, she goes home and gets stood up by Buddy with a Porsche, on the answering machine, and, I'm going to go to a movie by myself and I can't even get a date. Like they really set her up as hapless.
Yeah.
But at the same time, any time that she actually says or does anything that actually requires her to participate in, the writing is so clever in telling us that she's not dumb. In fact, in telling her that she's smart. And the thing that comes through in the first film that's really amazing is it's all well and good that she's a killing machine in the second one, but it's also very clear she's been trained by that point and she's proactively learnt those things. In the first one, she's just going on raw instinct, and her raw instincts are so fucking good. Like, she picks up stuff really, really fast. Like, once she actually registers stuff and decides, like, that this is what Reese is telling me is real. Once she realizes what Reese is telling her is real, the way she processes that is really, really fast and quick. And there's a lot of instinctual stuff she does that's really brilliant.
Well, that's why she's one of like the best heroines of all time, because I have a problem like with any movie. Like we've talked about this before. Is like I have a problem when I'm watching a movie is like trying to the way the characters handle the situation. Like, you know, if they're fucking doing some dumb shit and, you know, like, why the
Yeah.
fuck would you do that? Like, everything she does is like, you know, it's a pretty logical reaction, you
Yeah.
know, like the whole thing with Reese, it's like, you know, Reese is acting, you know, like you got the doctor's like, you know, she's a fucking loon. And he's like, well, all right, so maybe that is true. But then this fucking dude shows up to the police station like 10 minutes later and just starts wiping everybody out. And then it's like, oh, hey, this really is like a giant robot that can't be stopped. And, you know, like just going with it from that point. I think that I love how that I just logic and fucking reasoning and adapting, like you said, like adapting to the situation. Like she's one of the
Yeah.
fucking best, like her and Ripley. Like I would love to see like a fucking Ripley in a Sarah Connor movie. That'd be fucking awesome.
Yeah, the two of them teaming up in a separate timeline. Like she gets the time travel. You know, Sarah Connor gets the fucking Terminator time travel device and goes forward and meets Ripley, and
Oh,
yeah, they kick ass. Yeah, oh yeah, no, they're savage, but they're very different too. I mean, you're right.
yeah,
Though on that primal instinctual level, they are both. The reason those characters are such strong figures is because of that reasoning and because of how fast they can adapt and the sheer survival instinct. Like
yeah,
the fact that you see in the first film, she's got Reese. And, you know, there's that learning to work with Reese, learning to have a companionship and all the things that happen with Reese. But the second that he gets shot, when they're in the truck running away from it, and she realizes, okay, now I'm fucking alone. Now he's the damaged guy and I'm going to have to take care of it. You see her, even her posture changes as she's driving. And she totally fucking gets it. She totally gets that, okay, I don't have this guy to lean on anymore. I am going to have to fucking make the decisions now. And I've now got a toolkit that's enough that I can fucking do this. And I'm just going to fucking do it. All the way through to her knowing to go through the fucking crusher at the end and know to lead it through the crusher
yeah,
and to turn around and, you know, let it be reached, you know, the way that she strategizes that. And these are the things that for me make T1 better. Well, not better. Better is the wrong word. We established that at the start. That I prefer T1 are all these things. There's something really visceral and something just, you can't help but be Sarah Connor in the situation too. It's just a terrifying movie. Like that's the thing. It's a chase film. It's at its heart. It's a chase film and a slasher film. And it is a really terrifying film. And the reason it works too is the pacing. The pacing in the first film and the second one, the pacing
yeah,
is
man,
great
they're
too.
both of them are fucking really lean movies. Like they're both like
Yeah.
really to the point. Like neither of them waste any fucking time at all. They both get right to the fucking point.
Which is incredible when with the second film, we're talking about a 2.5 hour goddamn
Yeah,
film.
yeah.
But yeah, I mean, the first one's what, an hour 48, an hour 49?
About that, yeah.
Yeah. And then the other thing that the first film does so fucking well is the minimalism of the use of the Terminator.
Yeah.
Like Arnold has what, 12 to 14 lines in the film, and he's on screen for around, like, maybe if you add it all up, 15, 20 minutes of that hour 48. Like his presence is felt all the way fucking through it. There's not a frame in that film where you're not aware that he's hunting, but he's actually only on camera. And they do the same thing with the T-1000 in the second film too,
Yeah.
where Robert Patrick isn't actually on camera that much in the second film, but his presence is always felt.
And he's a
But
fucking
the way they do it in the
cool in that, dude. Robert Patrick, I can't wait to like Robert Patrick's so fucking he's like a fucking
he's a
problem
fucking
in that
panther.
one.
He's
Oh,
a panther.
he really
He's a
is.
fucking land predator.
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll talk about him later. Okay. Yeah. So and then okay, just on a sheer filmmaking level, I mean, I'm all over the place with what I love about this one. There's so many things that are in my head right now that have to get out. The fact that it only costs like $6 million, you know, for comparison, say, you know, Empire Strikes Back was $18 million that year. You know, so we got $6 million. The film was shot in mono because of budgetary reasons, because they couldn't afford to shoot it in stereo because everything needed to go on the limited effects.
You know, all the
But
night shoots too.
the creative and constructive way that they shoot around things in order to not draw attention to the fact of the limitations of the practical effects. And the only time that those practical effects at all could be deemed a weakness, and I'm not one of those people, because I actually love the fucking practical effects in that film. So good. For me, it's pinnacle practical fucking Stan Winston effects. I mean, hoorah to Stan Winston.
Stan Winston
Even the
is a
stop motion
god.
stuff. Yeah, even the stop motion stuff at the end, I love that movement and the way they use stop motion to kind of be scary, like a nightmare that's jagged. Still fucking works for me really fucking well. There's something about that unnatural movement of the ectoskeleton that like frightens me. But the way it shoots around certain things and just creatively, like when the T800 gets hit by the fucking big semi-trailer, the same fucking one that's the little toy at the beginning, which again is the nice little callback that it crushes the chair. And they sort of you have a long shot where you see the thing smacked, but then all of the shots underneath are just a shot of the hand grabbing or a shot of the foot dragging. They never actually give you a shot that's going to establish that this effect is not happening at all. The same as the miniature work. The miniature work in this film is, and especially to be able to do it in a lot of the older films when they're remastered into like high, and the 1080p transfer on this on Blu-ray is just.
Yeah, man, I got the fucking.
Oh my Jesus fucking Christ! It's such a glorious transfer.
It really is a good transfer. It's better than the T2 one, honestly.
Well, I don't know. We'll get into the T2 one, but I mean the T2 one is fucking amazing too because that film's so shiny. It's so
it is very shiny, but there's like some softness in it. Oddly enough, like my TV's very discriminating, so like.
Good point.
Whereas the first one really, is a great remaster on that Blu-ray.
Well, the fact it's a nocturnal film too. Like that's the other thing. I'm a sucker for nocturnal films. I'm a sucker for night films. And again, the way that they use the nighttime as a character is just awesome. Like that shot that is such a. I mean, everyone who listens to this show knows my love of Walter Hill. And that fucking car chase when Reese is debriefing her, when they first meet, when Sarah and her first meet, and they're fucking that car chase, the things that camera is doing actively to make that fucking chase so fucking fast and so like the way the camera zips up as they slide and it almost collides with the car as it goes around corners and shit, like shot like Walter Hill's the driver, is just I always forget that is, I never mention it when I'm talking about the best car chases in cinema history. That car chase is so fucking good. It's just so good. The sound of the engine, again, the way the backgrounds are used is just, it's so fucking good. And the way that they've slightly sped it up, but they make sure that there's nothing in the background so you can never actually tell. And it's only slightly sped up, just enough. So it's just that little bit more on the ragged edge, like that scene where it goes up off the freeway, takes the exit off the freeway, and sort of goes up and jumps and slides sideways. And the stunt driving is just, like it got my, man, it's getting my heart going again, just remembering it. But like last night, I was just, again, I was imagining watching it, and I was just like, this is fucking dynamite. And I always do know that's one of my favorite moments in the film, but it's perfect. It's fucking and because of the fact that at the same time, there's nothing more boring than exposition, right? But when you're getting exposition in such an exciting action scene, and you're seeing Sarah Connor have to cope with, she's not even at the point where she's willing to put her life in this guy's hands, and he's driving like a fucking goddamn maniac. She doesn't know that he's a great driver. She doesn't know any of that. So she's just, even if he wasn't telling her what he's trying to tell her about this fucking killing machine coming after and stuff, I mean, he hasn't actually said the lines yet, but he's trying to catch her up to speed it all. And she's having to try and process it. But at the same time, even if she wasn't being told that, just being in the car thinking that she's being kidnapped, and the guy driving that fast and that fucking fast while cops are chasing and stuff is, it's fucking amazing. It's just really good. You can tell that on the page. It surprises me when it's either the commentary or the making of. I haven't gone through those extra features, but the extra features on the Blu-ray too are amazing. But they talk about the one thing that like Arnold and Michael Biehn didn't actually realize when they read the script that it was going to be a great film. And I just can't imagine that. I mean, I've read the script just looking at it on paper. And it's like, how could you not have known this was, having faith that you had a director that was going to be able to realize it. But on paper, it's already just set up in such a good way that it isn't just the lines of dialogue, it's when they're delivered and the situations and scenarios they're delivered in that are just amazing. And the other thing about this film that's so amazing is, as much as it's an introduction to the Terminator character and to Arnold really not being Conan, it's also an introduction to James Cameron. Like, we only had Piranha 2 and, obviously... 2, and we'd, that's why he couldn't get funding from anyone and stuff. And we'd only had Piranha 2 as he's directing. And we'd only had, like he worked with Roger Corman on like Battle Beyond the Stars and shit like that, which are great schlock films. But, again, you're not watching those films thinking you're going to have one of the most important fucking filmmakers, certainly from a technical point of view, if nothing else. I mean, say what you will if you don't like his type of films. I don't think anyone can fucking argue that his advances in building cameras and his advances in sound, I mean, if you want to talk about the second one briefly, like the sound in the fucking second film is just as fucking jaw-dropping and revolutionary as the CGI was. It set the bar. Like, films never sounded the same after that film. And what he does with sound and vision in this film is astonishing when you look at the budget. And in fact, again, it was recorded in mono and only put into stereo. Like, I don't even think it was until the DVD. I mean, I'm not sure. I don't think it was until DVD, though, that it even got a stereo fucking soundtrack. I don't think they ever had a cinema release that had that until it went to home video. Well, not even home video, because I don't think the VHS was. But no one really owned a stereo TV when VHS was first around anyway. But yeah, I mean, there's just so much I fucking love about this film that I don't even feel like I'm even touching the surface. Every single goddamn frame of this is just perfect, is what I'm getting at. Like, I was looking for flaws. I was looking for things that when you brought up something, I would go, fair enough, that's a flaw. And I honestly couldn't see any. So I want to hand it over to you. And other than the fashion, is there anything else that you see as a weakness in the film, or something that even a minor quibble?
I mean, all my fucking quibbles are minor, honestly, because like I don't dislike the Terminator. I fucking love the Terminator. The Terminator is great. It's still one of the best fucking action movies ever made. And it's a great, it is a great sci-fi horror movie too, as well. My problems are so minor with it. They're just things that, some things don't age well, and some of the practical effects are a little weak. Like the endoskeleton stuff is fucking awesome. The Stan Winston skeleton is fucking great. Like like the way they use it in close-up, so you don't get the full effect. Like they do the best they can, like you said, with concealing like the limitations of it, and it looks great. But some of the practical, like rubber head stuff, like where Arnold's doing like the surgery on him and stuff, that looks a little that doesn't hold up so great. It just doesn't look all that awesome compared to like.
See, I don't know. I mean, watching it last night, like Fiona and I were both still cringing when he does the eyeball thing. Like,
yeah,
I don't know. It's so gooey.
It's a fun effect, but honestly, like, it's very noticeably like a puppet or whatever. Like it just doesn't. It's not great. Like, so that effect, like some of the effects like don't hold up that great, but overall, like, I like stop motion animation and stuff like that. So like I love the beginning with like the tanks going over the skulls and stuff like that, and I like the stop motion full skeleton at the end after it blows up in the truck and stuff, and like when you see the skin melting off of it and when it reveals the metal skeleton underneath it after the fucking oil truck blows up is awesome. It's just like really, really just minor stuff like that. Like the really close up stuff of the rubber head doesn't hold up very well. But I mean,
for me that is part of the charm. Like, I'm not going to tell you that it looks 100% realistic through modern eyes, but I'm going to say that that's actually a strength of the film for me. I just love practical effects, and I love the invention.
I love practical effects too.
It doesn't pull me out of the film at all.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a slight against the movie at all. It's just noticeable, and it does take me out for a second while I'm watching it. So
fair enough.
But aside from that, really, there's fucking not much. Like, it's got a great fucking soundtrack and a great score. Like, it's a awesome film, and Arnold really is just like a unstoppable fucking murder machine in that movie.
He's one of the most terrifying villains in cinema fucking history, and it just progresses. Like, even when he's buying his Uzi 9mm and stuff, like just the
with Dick Miller, the fucking Dick Miller cameo.
Yeah,
Dick Miller's got
Miller,
the fucking cameo in the gun shop.
Yeah, exactly. Dick Miller. Hail Dick Miller. That guy called Dick Miller. That fucking doco. Have you watched that doco? The guy.
Yeah, that's a fucking good doco. Yeah.
It's really fucking good. Anyone hasn't seen that, just check that out, because his history and his life, like. For someone, okay, it's not a Dick Miller fucking podcast. I won't get distracted.
But anytime you get to praise Dick Miller.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah. Now, the other thing that I love about the Terminator that I don't think the Terminator 2 has as much is an emotional heart. And that is that end monologue when she's driving off and there's a storm coming and she's recording on the tape recorder. And such a nice touch having a dog. Like, the fact that she has a fucking dog beside her after, again, she listens, man. She understands, he tells the story of in the future and that the dog, what the dogs do.
Yeah, I love that.
As if the first thing you don't do when you haven't got Reese. I haven't got Reese anymore. I'm going to get a fucking dog that can sniff Terminators. Like, the first thing I'm going to do. And it's just such a nice touch. But yeah, that recording and her trying to orally work through what she's feeling inside and try and sort that out, and the baggage that she's now being handed, and the baggage of having a kid, and that great shot, like where she gets out of the Jeep, and you see the bump and everything, and just the way she's humanized at the end of the film in such a, I'm not going to use the word handicapped, but I'm going to say they're carrying around a baby. If a Terminator turns up right that second, she's so fucking fucked.
Yeah.
You know, she can't, you know, just vulnerable. That's the word, not handicapped. She's vulnerable. There's a vulnerability to her at the end of that film in every way, physically and everything. Yet mentally, she's already a fucking steel bar. She's a crowbar. She's already everything she's going to be in the second film mentally. And it all comes through. But there's just such a heart. There's such a emotional heart beating through it, where you've now found out the limitations of what the Terminator can do, and that it can at least be, you can destroy a Terminator, which is the one thing that's really unclear. I mean, I still remember watching it as a kid. Like, it's really unclear until the moment that Terminator actually dies, because of the amount of times it comes back when you think it's dead. And it's not like it's in that tacky way though, because every time it dies, it's like, oh yeah, that's done. And then it's like, oh, but what we're going to do is we're going to give you more exposition. I mean, the visual exposition in both films, I'm not going to say the first film does it better, because the second film has some great visual exposition.
It really fucking does, yeah.
But yeah, the way that, like, you know, like, you never actually, even though you know that it's a cyborg, you don't actually really register that until it's all fucking burnt off. But that scene where he's escaping tech noir and then his hair gets burnt and becomes spiky and shit is such a nice fucking touch. And then at the end, yeah, where you think, oh, it's dead. And then it's almost like it's rebirth, like it's a butterfly that's gone into a cocoon and come out as a moth, like a reverse fucking metamorphosis, you know, where it's gone in beautiful and it comes out ugly. But in some ways it's beautiful, that endoskeleton. But yeah, you never actually suspected it. But as soon as it happens, you're like, oh, fair enough. Okay, yeah, it's all its outer torso is going to burn off. But of course it's still a robot inside and it's going to be able to keep coming, you know, and hey, you know, it's now in half, but you know, that doesn't, it's a robot. So it's not operating by human rules. It can still fucking keep, you know, it can still do what Bishop does later, you know, in Aliens. You know, it's very fucking cool.
Honestly, like, that's one of the things, like, some of my, like, another minor quibble of mine that, like, sort of gets progressively addressed in these movies as they go on, oddly enough, all the way even into fucking Salvation, which isn't a fucking good movie, but, like, there's these little things that they make fucking changes to. Like, there's a couple things in this one where, in the first one, while I was watching it again, like, at the beginning when he does punch through the guy's heart and he picks him up, the shot comes from the feet, and you can see the Terminator's feet lift up a little bit as if it's exerting itself from the fucking, whereas that wouldn't happen. So it's like these little fucking things where, like, and there's a shot and there's a fight at the beginning where some guy tries to do like a leg takedown on the Terminator and he moves it where you wouldn't move it. So, like, there's these little fucking things that progressively, as the series goes on, gets better at addressing the physicality and the weight of the fucking Terminator itself. Where in the second one, he's slamming through walls and stuff. The third one has a really great fight in a bathroom that's just, like, really showing how fucking, like, the third one really does a good job of illustrating the weight and the fucking damage that these things would really do. And then Salvation even has a really great part at the beginning where Connor's trying to get to a helicopter and he's got, like, there's like a fucking endoskeleton chasing him on the ground and it grabs a hold of him and it's like really got a fucking hold on him. You're like, oh yeah, that would be terrible because it's a super strong robot. Like, but like, progressively as those movies get on, these little touches, like, it just gets a little bit better at, like, you know, figuring things out that maybe you didn't think of because you're fucking inventing a genre essentially. But I like how, like, progressively that gets addressed. But that is one of the things in the first one.
I'll tell you what the other thing too is, I think only children of my era sort of would really, Terminator was one of the first films where gunplay was done properly. The way that fucking Arnold handles every goddamn weapon in that film, like even things like short controlled bursts. There were so few films that have short controlled bursts. And the way that he fucking handles machines and handles weapons, anything mechanical, which makes sense as you know, that's the thing. There's like this underlying thematic thing going on about machines versus man that's there. And it's there so clearly in the fact he can hop into and use anything so, as efficiently as any tool can be used, he can use it. Yeah. And Arnold, my God, the way that he can handle a weapon, it's really hard to remember, oh, it's an actor that had to be taught all that for the film. Because I mean, supposedly, I'm recalling the commentary or something back on one of the extra features, but like, he was able to do, like, dismantle guns and shit blindfolded and stuff before he started filming. Like, he was he was as dedicated to learning guns as he was to bodybuilding. And he just practiced. And it comes through so fucking well. And I can't believe it's taken this long to actually talk about the fucking police station set piece.
Yeah, that's it.
Because in the world of fucking action scenes, in any era, I don't care who you are, that scene is shot so perfectly for what happens on camera and what happens off camera.
There's such a great idea of like where you are at all times. Like you feel like you know the layout of the building. It's really well handled.
Oh yeah, the geography, the action geography is amazing. There's never a time where you don't know where you are, or when everything isn't carrying weight. Like as you said, I mean, you actually touched on it. The fact that it's a scene where you truly see that this is an indestructible killing machine.
Yeah.
The fact that the police aren't goofballs. The police aren't doing anything wrong. In fact, tactically they're doing the right thing. Like Paul Winfield, like, he comes out, he fucking unloads like at least, 6, 7, 8 bullets into this thing in the back and assumes it's going to go down. And then it turns around and shoots him. And all of them do that tactically. None of the police kind of are just, oh, boom, boom, boom. They're all fucking shooting properly. They're all actually attacking properly. They're all hitting their mark. Like nearly every cop that opens fire that you see on camera hits its mark. It's just that, he can then turn around and all of them are caught by surprise because no one's expecting it not to go down.
That's part of what's great about the lieutenant and fucking Lance Henriksen there. Like I like that when that scene finally does go down and they do have the realization that everything that dude was saying was fucking right when that happens, and they're just like, it's just like, all right, I guess we're just gonna go do this now. That scene's so fucking brutal, and I really love like the Lance Henriksen and the lieutenant have such a fucking awesome like little like character. Like all the dialogue is really fun and awesome between those two. Like I like how every time Lance Henriksen tries to tell like this fucking weird story, like he's just like, hey, shut up. He just like fucking dismisses him. That's what I love that shit.
Scene. That scene where they're behind the fucking glass watching as Reese is unloading his story and getting
he's like, you see this scar right here, and he's like hands him a coffee just to shut him up, and he's like, thank you. Fucking awesome.
They have a great chemistry. Paul Winfield is just Lance Henriksen though is fucking great in everything. Like I'm a big Lance. As I said, it's for me. I haven't even got minor quibbles. Like watching it last. As I said, I was very deliberately trying to look, and I don't know how much of that is just the fact it's a film I've seen 100. Goddamn 200 times, I don't know, and you can recite every line and blah blah blah, but it just works for me, and it's the better film for me. Or my favorite.
Chad Kaplan. Yes, Arnold Schwarzenegger was in the army for a while. Yeah, he used to lift weights, and he used to lift weights on the back of a tank. That's what he. He actually left the army to compete, to do a bodybuilding competition. I know this because I've read his fucking biography.
Yeah, I was about to say I've even read that biography, Total Recall. Which, if people haven't read Total Recall, it's a really fun, great biography. Yeah, it really is. I'd forgotten he was in the army, but I don't think his gunmanship in this film is like fucking next level.
He still has that rookie thing where like he blinks his eyes a lot while he shoots, which in the second one when he busts out the minigun, just fucking straight dead eyes the whole time. Like there's like all these little progressive, but again, between them he made like 1,000. He made Commando, so I'm sure you got that out of your system in Commando. So
when he shot the roommate after the Rick Rossovich fucking fight, which again like. I love
that's the fight I'm talking about too. That's the one that takes him off of his feet when like I'm like, that wouldn't happen. He'd just be like,
Well, again, that way that they progressively offer bigger obstacles for Arnold to overcome, for the T-800 to face that he overcomes so easily, and the fact that Rick Rossovich is this ripped dude, this big dude who has complete confidence in his abilities. He's like, don't make me have to fucking slam you. Picks up a lamp and fucking belts him. He's not frightened of an intruder that's still, you're still looking at a guy that's a really big fucking, again, even if the T-800 isn't actually a fucking killing machine, fucking cyborg killer, Arnold is a daunting figure. And the fact that Rossovich is like, oh yeah, cool, I'm going to throw down with this guy and I'm going to win and I have no problem with that. And then, literally gets, just fucking destroyed. And it just progresses with the obstacles he overcomes. And then, the culmination of that is the police station. And once the police station happens, you realize all bets are off. Like, what the fuck are you even going to do with this thing? Who knows? It's perfect. And anyway, that's Terminator 1 in a nutshell for me and why I love it. So,
fair enough, man. I also one of the things I also love about James Cameron is like the way he carries over a lot of the actors that he works with. Like, you know, you see a lot of the people from Terminator 2, especially in you know, Aliens and stuff like that, and there's some carryover from the first one. Even I think that's one of the cool things that Cameron does. He uses a lot of the same actors for
Oh yeah,
like the fucking in Terminator 2, the foster mom is fucking Vasquez from
Vasquez.
Aliens, and which is also one of the fucking best characters. Like, Vasquez is fucking awesome.
Oh yeah. Well, then let's not forget how cool it is that then Catherine Bigelow took all the cast on the weekends of Aliens and made fucking Near Dark with them too. We got
Yeah.
Near Dark, which is for me my favorite fucking 80s vampire film and possibly my favorite vampire film ever made. That's
Really?
a whole other discussion. Yeah, I fucking loved it. Near Dark is a fucking is gold. But yeah, I'm just going to go back over the comments just quickly before we move on to T2 and see. Oh, Susan, g'day. Oh, Terminator 1.5, the bridge and Sword 1 and 2. That would be fucking great. Absolutely, having a little bridging one would be cool. Clothing was terrible. Rick agrees. Rick creatively agrees with both of us, which is nice. John Connor's Public Enemy t-shirt. Yeah, damn right. I know it stood out so much last night when we talk about Terminator 2. Stop motion is creepy as hell. Damn right, Brian. Jeremy. Yeah, the fact that the film did really legitimize the genre. That's that revolution that I was talking about. That it revolutionized things. Was the fact of this thing did really change the landscape where sci-fi horror, even though Alien had existed, this was the one that really elevated it and made people realize you could have a high action film that was scary. And this B-movie genre, there's definitely a time when B-movies became A-movies, and where all the money went into them. And this is the film that this and Star Wars, obviously, but that a lot of people forget how much of an influence this had on it, and just how popular this film was, because it was a revolution. It really was. And so the face makeup, and it lands for sure. Yep. So people are kind of agreeing with both of us, which is great. Oh yeah, the face scratching scene in Poltergeist.
I honestly think that I was going to comment on that when he said it, but
Susan.
I think that scene holds up really well. The face scratching scene. Poltergeist. I've been obsessed with Poltergeist the past few years. I can't stop watching Poltergeist. You and I saw it in the fucking Somerville Theater, and I just kept going to see that movie every time it played. Poltergeist is fucking great, but I think that scene actually is still creepy. I don't think that scene is. I mean, it's noticeable, but it's also like it's not like a slow scene. It's like a fucking really like intense, horrifying scene. Whereas this is a little more like focused on like a sort of a slow process of cleaning a wound and stuff like that. So it's just a little bit more like the more you look at it, the more like you can't help but notice it, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I guess. Yeah, no, I mean, I do. I agree. Yeah. We could stop doing the podcast forever now because you've taught Brian that it was Vasquez in the second film, and that's awesome. Yeah. No, it was actually the first thing I said last night. I mean, I was well into my vodka by the time T2 was being watched, and I went Vasquez.
She was also the cop that gets blown up in Lethal Weapon 2, the one that goes on a diving board and gets blown up in the pool.
Yep, that's right. Oh, and I've lost all my live comments. Oh, there we go. Podcast, absolutely. Totally badass. Ultimate, when it came down for me, I like them both.
Well, I mean, Edward Furlong was fucking 12 years old. I mean, he's a fucking 12-year-old kid going through puberty, so.
Rick has brought us back on track. T2. Why do you choose T2 over T1? What does it have, my friend?
Honestly, I think T2 is just it's just more polished. I love how T2 takes the fucking awesome mythos that T1 creates and then just expands on it. It's one of those sequels that just fucking dives into it way more and just delivers like so much more of a full experience. Just and everything about it is just so much better. Like technically, like James Cameron, that's like one of I think he had done The Abyss around the same time.
He had done The Abyss.
Yeah.
So, had done The Abyss. The Abyss was the film that blew our minds with CGI and what it could actually do. And because The Abyss was such an advance, but then this film.
Yeah, like he took the stuff that he developed in The Abyss and then brought it to the next level with this, obviously. And the effects in the T2, like the practical effects in T2, there's like the practical effects are fucking killer in T2. There's really the only one that's kind of even noticeable, I think, is the one where it shows when he's walking towards the SWAT team and just lets them shoot him, and it's obviously the animatronic.
Yeah.
But that still looks pretty good, but it's still a little noticeable. But like that still looks pretty fucking solid. Like and
The
like
one
all
that gets me is the single shot of the fucking Harley launching into the LA River.
yeah.
And no cut. Like there's so much to the way that chase is fucking filmed. That LA River
That
chase.
fucking chase scene, like that T2, like Jesus Christ, T2, yeah, like there's just so much happening in fucking Terminator 2. Like Robert Pat, let's get the corny. Like here's the difference between like Terminator 2 and Terminator 3 though. Like when you're talking about like how you feel like it gets a little silly in the second one with like the bad to the bone and stuff, I still think that that's handled better than it is. Like all you have to do is look at Terminator 2 and Terminator 3, and you can see the difference of how easy it is to make that acceptable and then just totally off the rails and take you out of the movie entirely. The scene in Terminator 3 where he gets his glasses is fucking douche-chillingly bad, and like I feel embarrassed for the movie. Like I feel like I'm responsible and I feel guilty for it for some reason. Like I'm like, oh, did I do that? Like it's fucking embarrassing to me.
The reason it works in T2 and not T3 is because you've just had the scene of such extreme violence.
Yeah.
Like the way he tears through those fucking bikies. And I still remember how shocking it was, that one where he pulls the fucking arm back, smashes the guy on the pool table, and then drives the fucking thing through his fucking shoulder. Like the level of fucking violence in that opening introduction of him, because they've made it, they're matching the heart ripping in the first one to show you this is still the same killing machine. It's just not killing things anymore for some reason.
Well, but he does that in the first one too. Like he does let people live in the first one. It's like a matter of like, it's just like I like that element, how it doesn't, I don't feel like, and again, I feel like watching them both back to back, I feel like it's not that much of a detraction because he does that in the first one.
Well, well, I mean, it's an assessment of threat thing, certainly. Yeah. But I just think that there's more of a threat in that scene in T2 than certain threats in the first film that he lets live. It's just, it's not a fault. Like a fault is the fucking T1000 letting the truck driver live and then having a T800 in a grinder and walking away while its arm's stuck instead of just fucking taking care of business. Like that's like, why the fuck did you kill the truck driver who had absolutely zero threat and then you fucking let the T800 live when you've got it in a grinder at the end?
Well, they kind of explain that though, like in the movie where he talks about like the priorities, the mission priority takes over. Like if that is considered to be like no longer like an issue, that the primary objective becomes the main objective, and then it because it's a machine.
The mission parameters thing makes sense, but then it goes and drives the fucking stake through the T800.
Yeah.
And has all the lightning bolts and everything that has been established in the first film that means it's dead. And then we find it has a backup power cell. But the T1000 would have known they come with a backup power cell because he has the debrief on fucking everything. And again, the T1000 walks away and doesn't take care of business because it would have known there's a backup power cell. It's not like it's a twist for us as an audience member, but the T1000 knows that a T800 has a backup power cell.
I mean, if you want to get that nitpicky about it, then you could just say the movie wouldn't happen then. So, like, you could...
Well, no, I don't know if I'm going that extreme. I just think it really stands... It's one of the things that I see as a reason why I can't pick on the first film like that. Like, it's like a really major thing that he lets it go twice. If he does it once, it's like, fair enough. But when he lets it go twice... It just stands out. It stood out as a kid, and it still stands out for me.
I don't know. That's one I don't agree with you on. I don't know. Like, there's some things as a movie where if you get that nitpicky about it, like, then you just don't have a movie. Like, then the movie just ends right then, and then that's the end of the movie. So, like, I feel like if you like want to, like, I feel like it does a good enough job of like you're not thinking about that when that happens. Like, you're like, oh shit.
See, I was even as a teenager when I saw it. Like, it stood out to me.
That never even occurred to me once ever as a kid.
Even
like now, I never really thought about that. Like, I didn't put that much thought into it. So,
I mean, I overthink things. We know that. It's just the truth is, I can't pull the first film apart like that. It's just there's nothing in the first film that's that standout-ish to me. And I was really looking for them last night.
Well, yeah. Oh, yeah. Fucking Jeremy Ty just said, I would argue that the T1000 was glitching up at that point, which is accurate. So that is fair.
Yeah, I talk about the visual exposition. How fucking good is it when it touches the bar
Yeah.
and you see it go and
Yeah,
it
you start
shakes
to
its
see the
head?
glitching happen. Yeah.
That's such a fucking amazing scene.
Yeah.
Amazing.
One of the
And, I,
only
and, I'm, and
problems.
I'll acknowledge I'm acknowledging I'm nitpicking because obviously the film we've established like they're both fucking great films.
The only Rick here saying he doesn't like the liquid metal aspect at all. I mean, there's very specific parameters as to what the T1000 can and can't do. They established that pretty fucking well.
And yeah, how good is that exposition again
Yeah.
with the moving parts,
Yeah, it's
definition,
they
equal
explain. Yeah,
size and mass.
I think that's part of what makes the T1000 fucking awesome is they do a really good job of
Yeah.
explaining like its limitations, but you also get to see how terrible it actually would be, especially like in the copying aspect of things. And the only thing that I've ever had a problem with, even since I was a kid, like thinking about the T1000, was the idea that if it is a machine, like where is the chip or how is it programmed? It's because it's just liquid metal. So is the chip programmed into the metal itself or something like that? That's something I always found to be confusing. And uh, yeah, it just seems like a strange thing to me. But the T1000 in general is a fucking awesome machine. And god damn it, as much as Terminator fucking Genesis was a piece of not Genesis. Was Genesis the newest one?
No, Dark Fate.
Dark Fate. Yeah, as much as Terminator Dark Fate, the newest one, was such a piece of shit. The dude who played the
It
fucking
really was.
it's such a piece of shit.
I don't understand. There's people who were saying it was terrible.
It's fucking terrible. But the
Genesis
T,
is
whatever the
so.
fuck whatever the fuck the T was, the TX or whatever the fuck it was, that thing was cool. That thing was cool, and like the dude who played him was fucking a stone cold fucking killer. But that movie fucking sucks. But he was arguably the only thing I'll give that movie credit for was how it expanded on like the T1000 aspect of having like liquid metal, but it's over the fucking like an advanced T800 type thing. So it's just even more terrible. I thought that was kind of a cool way to take that even further.
Yeah, well, I mean, I love, again, that progression. Like the T1000 was such a step up in technology visually, but also, as a threat to Arnold, because Arnold had been set up as such a threat, to have something that was so clearly dominant over him. And then T3 does a really great job of it again, with the actual, regardless of how good or bad T3 is, the actual, the threat in that film is taken up again quite well. And I'm just going to mention that Scott Fielding saying the economy of violence makes it land so hard with minimum effort, maximum damage. Exactly is why that fucking scene at the start of T2 works so well.
Yeah, and Wayne's just chiming in. He's asking special edition or theatrical. There is only the special edition, good sir. That's all there is.
We both.
I disagree. Even Susan doesn't like the liquid metal concept. I think the fucking liquid metal thing's awesome. I think it's an awesome villain.
I think it's also an excellent showcase of the special effect as well.
Yeah, which still hold up. Like oddly enough, the only parts of the CG in the second one that don't really hold up are when he's like pulling like a metal bar out of his side because it just looks fucking like they just smooth it over. But like all the other stuff is fucking. It still holds up and looks really really well done.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing is watching it hasn't dated. Like
no,
as in the CG in that film is better than some CG from last year's films.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, 100%. The second one,
Cameron's shooting around it. He doesn't lean on it.
Yeah, he doesn't, but he doesn't shy away from using it either. I love the practicals too. Like with the chasing him down the hallway in the fucking psych ward, and like he shoots him point blank with a shotgun, and his head just fucking explodes, and it's this great practical that looks fucking awesome still. I love the fucking crazy Sarah Connor, and I love that she's working through her she's like almost like in her own movie, which is awesome because the movie is very much about Eddie Furlong and the Terminator and their fucking relationship, which I love. I love the father figure aspect of what Eddie Furlong sees in him, and like how when Sarah is introduced to him, like it's this horrifying nightmare, but like as she gets to see like how it behaves, like I love that dialogue after they reprogram the chip and she's just talking about how it would never come home and be drunk and hit him and fucking say it's too busy. Like there's all these great like bits of exposition that like just really help elevate her character, who's been through so much and has this expectation for this future. And like gives her like a sense of hope almost, but she never really loses her mistrust like altogether. Like there's always that element of her being on edge and always being a little weary of him, but trusting him just enough. It's fucking. I love like the dynamics between the characters that go on in that one. Like just Eddie Furlong had like he's a fucking 12-year-old kid. He's like, cool, my own Terminator. It's like like fucking like there's so many great like things in that movie that I fucking love. Which okay, I know you don't agree with because I see your face.
No. You've hit on one of the things that for me makes Terminator 1 clearly better than Terminator 2 for me. I hate the 80s thing of having an edgy, dark character suddenly fucking ironed out. And the idea that you took this killing machine and made it into a pet robot in the second film, it still grates on me. It still fucking grates on me what they do, where they're just... I mean, we've made it clear at the start of the film that it's still a great film, but it's the fundamental flaw for me. I just don't, I mean, subjectively, I just don't like making him the friendly robot. I don't like that at all. I don't like that to hit a broader audience, which they're clearly doing. They inject way more comedy in it than needs to be there. And they remove so much of the edge. Like there really isn't, it's just not as exciting and dangerous a film as the first film. It's an enjoyable
I don't know, man. That fucking, even, and Rick just fucking brought it up. The fucking dream sequence, Sarah's dream sequence where people fucking get blasted into fucking, like, that is still horrific to this day.
Oh, yeah, no, there's
very much an edge to this movie. Like, none of the comedy.
Oh, yeah, no, I'm just talking about the Terminator. I'm just talking about making the Terminator a pet.
I think that's fine.
Making the Terminator into a puppy dog is.
It's a fucking machine, and it's still.
Yeah.
It's still like like when it's got fucking. Connor by the shirt, he's like, let me go, and the fucking guys come over to get into his face. He grabs that fucking guy by the head and he's gonna fucking shoot him, like, and then it's not until he tells him to stop that he doesn't, because like
no, it's the dynamic of him being the friendly fucking machine. That relationship, I don't like that relationship between Eddie Furlong and the Terminator. I don't like it. I don't like that they do it the way they do it. I like moments of it, don't get me wrong, and it's not a fundamental flaw because, as I've said multiple times, like it's a great fucking film. It's just, for me, it's the thing that makes it so I prefer the first film. I do not like a lot of that sort of childishness. I do not like a lot of like for instance, the I'll be back in the first film, kind of, it's iconic now, but at the time it didn't feel like it knew it was going to be iconic. Whereas Hasta la Vista Baby is so engineered to be a catchphrase. And I hate that engineering catchphrases thing. And I don't like it. And I hate the fucking thumbs up. You know that. Like, I hate the thumbs up so fucking much.
I love the thumbs up.
As a kid, I fucking threw pop. I hate the thumbs up. I hate it.
I love the thumbs up. I still, every time I watch it, I get a little emotional towards the end of T2. Every time.
It's the closest thing to a fundamental flaw. I mean, unless he's been sitting down watching Happy Days reruns, I don't know. I just don't like it at all. I don't. As a kid, it really dragged it down, but I've learned that it's such a minor thing that it shouldn't ruin a really great film, because there's so much great in the fucking film.
There's so much great
in T2.
I'm sorry, Susan, but I don't agree with you. I don't think Eddie Furlong is bad in the movie. I think he's a fucking 12-year-old kid with a squeaky voice. Like, that doesn't bother me. I mean,
he's not good, but he's not bad.
Yeah, he's perfectly fine for like what he's supposed to be. He's like he's a little shit kid that learns to be responsible and learns about fucking loss and stuff. I think he's perfectly fine in it.
I mean, some of his delivery is a little like it's not natural. He lacks naturalism in moments like that.
Well, I mean, he hadn't developed the acting chops that he had, by the time he was in Brain Scan. So I mean, let's
Pecker. He's actually really good in Pecker. He's really good in Pecker, the John Waters film. He's fucking great in that film. He grew into, and even Pet Sematary 2, he's sort of better already. But yeah, I mean, he's not terrible. He doesn't ruin the film for me, but I'm going to agree that he's a weaker link in the film, especially when you compare him to everyone else's performance. Like Robert Patrick. Let's finally talk about Robert Patrick.
Robert Patrick's Robert Patrick's so. Like, he's so fucking sleek. Like, he's so fucking... He's a
fucking Ferrari.
He's like streamlined and fucking dangerous. Like, he's so fucking... He's got like that fucking steely gaze. He's just a fucking problem. Like, I love at the end when he's like torturing Sarah with like... He's got like the fucking finger through her shoulder and he's just like, I know this hurts. It's awesome.
Yeah. I mean, again, James Cameron, credit. a lesser film would have gone, well, if we're going to do something that's going to be a threat to Terminator, we have to have it be big or bigger than Arnold or as big as Arnold. But no, they go for, you know, a panther. As I said, he's a land predator. He's a cat. He even has feline-like movements in the way he moves and everything. He's always preying. And again, the intelligence of the fact that what does he choose to be? He chooses to be a cop.
Yeah.
Like, it's such a good fucking thing. If you can be anything, of course you're going to choose to be a cop. It's a thing that's not going to, it's going to be, you know, you're a figure of authority, you're a figure of control, you're a figure to be, you know, it's a great fucking thing to choose to occupy the space of.
Well, good thing the movie wasn't made in 2020, right? Oh, topical. Just kidding.
I didn't even add that context, but but that's the truth. I mean, the truth is that, yeah, it is, you are right. But it's a really clever thing to be, especially.
No, it's great. Yeah, it's fucking great. Yeah, I fucking love it. Yeah.
And yeah, and it's his eyes. I mean, again, the director's commentary. I remember the director's commentary talking about the fact that Robert Patrick was so into the role. What he did is he started doing running training, and he'd only run by breathing through his nose.
Yeah.
And so what happened was when they actually started shooting the scene, like where he's chasing the dirt bike, Robert Patrick in real life was able to catch the fucking dirt bike every time. And they were thinking the stuntman wasn't driving fast enough. And it was actually that Robert Patrick had become so fucking fast because he was always oxygenating through his nose. But as soon as he even remotely breathed through his mouth,
that's another thing one of the things I love about the second one too, is it really ups the physicality of both of them and how fucking tough they are. And I really do love the I love, like, and I don't know, Rick, I feel like you're getting a little too, like, caught up in this, man. He's like, I don't think he's relishing in torturing something. It's the same thing as, like, when the Terminator says he has detailed files on human anatomy to make him a more efficient killing machine. He's trying to extract information, and he's fucking doing it the best way he knows how. I just see, like, those little things where, like, he's always, like, assessing, like, his eyes, he's, like, always assessing something. Like, I love that, like when the hallway, like, when he first meets Connor. I love that fucking scene when you never really, you know, they do such a good job of keeping it ambiguous as to who's the good guy, who's the bad guy. And then when you finally meet him in the hallway and that split second happens, and then they're wrestling and he's got, like, he's fucking, I love when they fucking lock up for the first time and, like, the T-1000 grabs Arnie's shotgun and fucking, like, he wrestles with him for a second. And then, like the T-800 just kind of gives him, like, a look, and then they fucking the 1000, like, gives him, like, an aggressive, like, look, like he's, like, they're, like, measuring each other's fucking strength. Yeah. I love that, like, that moment between the two machines trying to figure out, like, what is what. Like, I think that's great. Like, there's so many little subtle things that this movie does that I think are fucking brilliant.
Absolutely. I mean, yeah, the build up to that too, the music and the fucking
great.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's fucking flawless. Like, it's flawless the way that they set up the two colliding for the first time. And that measuring up of each other and testing and going through the walls. And the other thing that really stood out, which has stood out every time, James Cameron knows how to use fucking slow motion so goddamn well.
Yeah.
The way that he slow-mos the get down, and the fact that Eddie Furlong, even though he's been programmed to fear the Terminator, knows instinctually to fucking get down because this thing is actually the predator. Like, Furlong senses which one's predator and prey straight away.
Yeah.
In that scene, even though he has that moment of shock, unlike his mum. But again, the slow-mo of fucking fucking Sarah Connor sliding on her knees and falling down and crumbling weak after she's been set up as this fucking strong character. She's literally training. Like, the first time we see her in that film, she's literally jailhouse training. She's training. And she's not training to stay fit to stay from being bored. You know that she's training because she knows sooner or later she's going to be breaking out. Yeah. Everything she's doing is engineered to be breaking out. She's become she's become as close to an indestructible fucking being as Sarah Connor is capable of being in fucking that.
And that's what I love about the second one, because the second one, it takes all of these things that are so strong in the first one as ideas. And as a first film, like, the first one that's why, like, they work so well together. You can't watch one without the other. The first one sets up these great ideas, and then the second one just expands on it so much and, like, gives you more in, like, the best way possible. Like, and I love how it even plays with, like, expectations. Like, we were just talking about the hallway scene, but, like, all these things that it does, it's just so fucking well done. And I love the idea of trying to alter the future, and, like, the whole thing with Dyson, Miles Dyson studying the chip in the arm that were left from the other one. Like, I love all these little elements that they really just take and expand it and go all fucking out with it. And it doesn't fall too much into the the time travel trap that like once you get into the third one, you start to like wonder like, wait a minute, like how does this even work? But like it just keeps it simple. It keeps it. They're both super lean films, and the second one just expands on it, but still manages to stay nice and lean. Like it just does exactly what it should do. Like that fucking that first of all, that whole scene in Cyberdyne is fucking amazing. That whole Cyberdyne scene is one of the fucking greatest action pieces, and it's like 20 minutes long. That whole thing from
it takes the police station up 20 notches.
Yeah, like the whole thing with the fucking the shooting, like the minigun scene is amazing, and then you have the fucking him taking the dirt, but launching the bike out the window onto the helicopter, taking the helicopter, and fucking shooting a machine. Like that chase scene is like that. He's really flying a fucking helicopter like in an underpass on a fucking highway. That's crazy.
Yeah, the underpass, but how about when it goes over the fucking bridge?
Like right before.
How freaking close that helicopter goes. Yeah, no, the stunt fucking flying is this. That chase is so fucking good.
When he fucking gets in the back of the pickup truck, like gets on, like I love how casually the stuntman just gets out of the pickup truck, goes onto the fucking helicopter, and just starts shooting into the fucking helicopter. It's like that scene is fucking brilliant. Like there's so many great things about the second one. Like minor quibbles aside, like the second one for me is like just hands down. Like I fucking, and I love the way it ends. Like I love Sarah's exposition at the end on the wet highway going into the future, just like in the first one. You know, where you're going into an uncertain future. Like and she's got like that little bit of optimism. Like I don't know, man. And like the way like as the Terminator goes into the fucking steel, she like takes a minute to shake its hand. Like I love that like bit of like showing her like that she's learned a little bit too, and like maybe lets a little of her trust issues go, but she's still like I don't know, man. But she still doesn't like try to comfort John about that whole thing. Like that's still like something that he's still like very much alone with. I don't know. I love that whole fucking sequence, man. The second one fucking rules. I love T2. I love it so much.
I mean, yeah, it does fucking rule. Like, there's no denying it, and there's no arguing that on a technical level, it takes everything that. Because the first film in my mind is the pinnacle of low budget, practical effects, spectacle filmmaking.
Sure.
And then the second film is the birth of the CGI revolution, showing exactly what the tech can do. And as I touched on earlier, the sound design. Like, I can't tell you how amazing it was the first time in a cinema hearing that fucking crunch of the skull. Yeah. Like, it's such a little moment that it's really even hard to try and explain to a modern audience that we never heard anything like that. Like, the sound design in that film, that's why I think like the Terminator 2 actually was nominated for like fucking 6 Oscars or something, or won like 4, and 2 of them are sound. And it's really, really clear. And a lot of people focus on the CG, but the sound in that film was just as revolutionary in every way.
100%.
Yeah. So I mean, there is no denying it's a more polished film. I just prefer rough around the edges, and I prefer the guerrilla aspects of the first film. But there is no arguing that. It is the cameras, the lenses, the cinematography, the sheer polish. And the thing I like is it kept sort of the same color palette, but then made that cobalt cold blue look.
Yeah, that kind of became Cameron's. That kind of became his look. Like he really.
Yeah, and then it became so many other films' look too. Even like Out of Sight uses it. The Soderbergh's Out of Sight uses it really well. But but that look is so already fully formed in that film. Like between that and Aliens, he establishes that look, and that look, that schmickness, and so even though you said like the Blu-ray transfer of the first film was actually superior, you can't polish T2 enough. Like T1,
I agree.
I would happily watch in 35mm with relics on it and stuff. But T2, the more fucking polished that thing is, the better it looks. Because
I heard there's a 4K Blu-ray of it that just came out that's supposed to be good. I might pick that up because T2 is one of those ones, like you said, it can't be polished enough. And like it's an okay transfer, but like I kind of want to see. Like I'm very satisfied with my Blu-ray version of Terminator 1, but Terminator 2, I might actually upgrade to the 4K disc for that because I feel like that would be fucking awesome.
Without a doubt. If I had 4K, I think it'd be one of the films that just you can't have that film too polished.
Yeah,
there is no remaster of that could be too polished. And again, that's just part of that aesthetic thing that I like the dirty a little bit more. The thing with me is one of the things that really resonated as a kid with Terminator 2 was it was the first film that because obviously when you're a teenager, you kind of love violence, right? And you love gore and you love pain and you love those things. And there were two films in my mind that made violence not fun. One of them was Platoon. When I saw Platoon, it was one of the first war films I'd ever seen where I was like, I'm numb and I am dumbfounded and I am heartbroken and I on an emotional level, the violence really hurts in that film. But in this film, the smart commentary of the way that the film turns around and he says, don't kill anyone. And he turns a mirror to the audience and goes, okay, I'm not going to kill anyone. And when he blows out those two fucking kneecaps of the fucking guy who's the guard, the first time, because he obviously kneecaps everyone once he's in Cyberdyne.
Yeah.
That kneecapping made it so clear how desensitized I was to seeing death on screen versus real violence. And as a 16-year-old, I think it was a 91, so again, I was like 16, 17 maybe. It just was really eye-opening to me that, oh, wow, I've been a bit of a dick about violence in a way. Like, it was a really smart commentary on the way that, say, something like Commando had desensitized us to violence and body count was all that mattered, and that we really weren't letting it carry the weight it needed. And just by kneecapping a guy, that moment of kneecapping is just as harsh as anything in any film of that era.
Yeah.
And it's just a really, really cunning bit of writing and a really smart way to, as I said, put a mirror on the audience that's enjoying and relishing in violence and going, oh, by the way, here's what the real shit looks. He's not going to kill anyone, but he's going to fucking inflict so much goddamn pain you'd almost wish the guy was dead. It would have been easy to find ahead.
Yeah, like the one the scene where like they're escaping the fucking the mental hospital. He pulls the cop out and fucking pulls like he just fucking tosses him to like a cement rebar, and the guy's just like that noise it makes when his head hits. I'm like, oh, like that'd be terrible.
Yeah, well, and again, the film sort of loads it too with that scene in the bar where that shoulder action happens, because that shoulder thing again, you're like. That shoulder fucking move and stab, it's like, again, it's like, wouldn't it be nicer to just fucking kill that guy? It's a really fucking good bit of filmmaking. And it was just something that really, really, when I left the cinema the first time, it was something that I really grappled with. And it made me watch movies different going forward. That one moment.
I want to point out something. Jeremy was just talking about how they love that they kept Brad Fiedel to compose the score for T2, and I love the T2 version of the theme so much more than I do the original. Like the original, I love the original. The original's got that really good, like almost like synth gritty to it, 80s like grit to it that I love. But the second one has just got like the second one's just so fucking like epic. Like the second score is just so epic. I love it.
The second one's
so like sweeping. It's an awesome score.
Yeah, the second one's an anthem, and the second one, the score is just the same as the film. It's bigger, shinier, more engineered, all of that sort of stuff. And yeah, but I prefer the original one.
Oh sure, I don't think there's a wrong answer. I also like Jeremy.
Yeah, no, I agree. There's not a wrong answer.
Jeremy talk about like he prefers the Kyle Reese Future War flashback scene in the original one, and I love that scene too. The one where the Franco Columbo is the fucking Terminator that comes in and busts up everything. Arnold's buddy Franco, getting him a fucking job because that's what he does.
Yep. Rest in peace to Franco.
Yeah, man, fucking Franco. So I guess now would be a good time to touch on the third one. Yeah, just a little bit, because we both watched 1 through 3. Because we've both had this sort of I don't think we've ever watched the third one together.
No, we haven't.
We've always like. We've both always agreed that the third one wasn't as bad as it was made out to be. Honestly, and after watching it last night, I would honestly argue that fucking car chase scene in the third one is probably one of the best car chase scenes ever put to film. That fucking scene is unbelievably fucking crazy. That just knocking over telephone poles and those giant trucks and stuff like that scene is fucking amazing. Yeah. That being said, I remember I Facebook messaged you like within the first 20 minutes I was watching the third one, and like just kind of like it was like a gif of Dennis from Always Sunny in Philadelphia, just making like a fucking face, and I'm like, this is me watching Terminator 3 right now. And like just like the kind of the goofiness of the third one in the first 20 minutes, it really like there's like a real weird struggle that movie's trying to find its identity in the first like 20 minutes or so. And at the same time, like just managed to do some things that are really cool. Like the time capsule aspect in the third one in the desert, and it kind of melts the fucking sand into glass. I think that's cool.
Mhm. Yep.
But then at the same time, you have Christina Locan as her fucking cameo. Like, I like this car. I like this gun. It's like, all right. Like, it's like the Terminatrix in the third one kind of sucks.
Really? I mean, I agree with the dialogue being too on the nose.
It's too,
but I also
it's too
took it as an
hammy.
implication. I also took it as an implication that there was a way that it had learnt from the T1000.
Yeah.
And it kind of and it had been in some way preloaded, but I agree it was on the nose. But I think that physically and stuff, and the way that the actual dynamics of the Terminatrix are fucking cool.
I agree. Yeah.
That leg turn, that leg fucking swivel thing, and the fucking head swivel thing are cool. But yeah, no, I agree. Like the setup is not like what we talked about. The 1 and 2, like let's just say it out loud. Like the third one's a major step down from the first two films. There is no way. Yeah. There is no way we're on that in that conversation. The top two, the first two are A shelf sci-fi. This is definitely B shelf sci-fi.
I would say
this is not an A. It's maybe. No, okay, you would say that, but then look at Terminator Salvation.
No, you're right. You're totally
Genesis,
right.
Genesis shouldn't even fucking exist.
Genesis is the only one I never even saw, and like you gotta remember, I'm fucking Arnold Schwarzenegger fucking super fan numero uno, and like I never even bothered to see Genesis because I never heard one single good thing about it, and my curiosity didn't even peak enough to that I felt like I needed to. I heard nothing
about Genesis. I felt obligated,
and
I did, and it sucked because I love Terminator films. And I know you do too. But yeah, but Terminator 3 is a B level, and it's not at all on the same thing, but. There's sometimes where things suffer by comparison, and literally when you're comparing a film to two of the best action fucking sci-fi films ever made in the history of cinema, there's very few things that there's probably 2 or 3 other films that I could pull out my ass right now that would even be in the conversation with the Terminator 1 and 2, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's not really fair. It's not really fair to put it on that pedestal. And especially because we got the reward of usually the first one's great, the second one's lesser, and they just progressively scale down.
Yeah.
Here we didn't really get that. Terminator 1 and 2 are both fucking great films. We've established that over this podcast. The third film has some really major fucking flaws that aren't quibbles, that are structurally, it's all over the place. The setup for the characters, as you said, is a mess. I do love the fact that John Connor is a fucking a directionless drug addict. After the events of T2, I kind of really like that idea, and I really like Nick Stahl as an actor in the role of John Connor. That said, the things that are flaws in it are so gaping, like as you said, the sunglasses scene, the way that it's calling back to T2 rather than moving forward. Yeah, and that's what T1 and T2 move forward. They call back, but they're always recontextualizing and putting it forward. Whereas T3 is going for these empty fucking calories, these empty gags.
Yeah, that's a great way to describe that. That's such a great way to describe that. Like, that scene is so like awkward and embarrassing, and like but to its credit though, like to the credit, the talk to the hand, just like Jeremy said, talk to the hand. That fucking scene makes me cringe every time. And the scene, like when he's in the fucking convenience store, just like, oh, it's so embarrassing. But there's like to point out a little good about the third one. I love the Terminator. I love Arnold's costume in the third one. I think he has the coolest costume out of all of them in the third one. That jacket's fucking awesome.
Yeah. And I love that he's come from a gay bar with it. Like that's the other fucking cool commentary on it. Like the fact that what he's wearing in the third one is a fucking Village People outfit is fucking great.
I like the character of the Terminator in the third one. Like I think that the machine itself has like a really cool like persona, honestly, like where it's not like I love that they point out that it's not the Terminator from Terminator 2. It's more in line with the first one, but it's also like programmed to be helpful, but it's also kind of a fucking dick in the third one. I like the dynamic between the Terminator in this one and the characters. I think Claire Danes falls a little flat. She just doesn't feel right for that movie at all.
I'm a Claire Danes fan, but
I am too.
She's just not right for the role. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think a big problem with the film is that the first 25 minutes odd that you called It's a mess and sloppy. Once the film actually starts moving,
it evens out.
The second that they're at the vet, and he's in the cage, and the Terminatrix turns up, and the film turns into a chase film.
Yes.
Very much like the first film. It elevates straight away.
It does.
It becomes way more enjoyable as a chase film. And as you said, the physical chase, the car chases are really fucking good. There's a lot of pursuits in that that are really good.
That car chase is amazing.
Every confrontation between the Terminator, the T-800 and the Terminatrix is rewarding on some level.
Yep.
It very clumsily does that visual exposition thing, though. It doesn't do it anywhere near.
Yeah.
Again, we're not dealing with, we're dealing with the guy who directed that piece of shit U-571 or something, if I recall, John Malstow or something. I think the director is off the top of my head.
I can't remember.
Yeah, he's not a good director, and he's just not a good director. And I think that straight away, even with that script, if you had a better director, you would have had a better film.
Yeah.
I think that the film was really afraid to come out of the shadow of how big the first two films are too.
Yeah, I agree.
think that if you had a director that had confidence in their own vision, and was willing to run with their own vision and go, I'm not going to try and have my cake and eat, because I say again, we discussed, like, there's something that, even though the budgets are different and the fucking way the films are engineered and the fact that you got practical to CG, there's something about the color palette and the way the films are engineered with T1 and T2 that's the same. And T3 doesn't get that subtle link that those two films have. It doesn't look and feel like a Terminator film. And if you're going to make something that doesn't look and feel like those first two films, then fucking go for it.
I totally agree. That's exactly what it's missing. Like, it doesn't have the, like, it awkwardly tries to, like, set up in the first 20 minutes, but, like, once it starts to even out, it's okay, but it never really gets beyond okay. There's some few really great, like, set pieces and stuff, and, like, I like the idea. I like the overall plot of the movie. The overall plot is pretty fucking cool, and honestly, like, I love that scene in the fucking cemetery where fucking Sarah Connor plants guns in her casket. Like, I love that. That's fucking awesome. And then he's just walking around with a casket fucking shooting and stuff. Like, that's fucking cool as hell. But yeah, it never really, it's always just sort of, it doesn't take a chance, like you said.
Yeah. The reason that I tune into it is, quite frankly, if I'm going to have a Terminator trilogy, the way that trilogy ends is perfect for me.
Yes. Yeah, I agree.
The way that film ends, the ending makes it worth going through the film.
I agree. I agree.
Makes it so that I don't need any more Terminator films. The same as Alien 3.
Yeah. Like, Alien 3, yes, you and I are both in agreement on that, right? Alien 3 ends the series fucking perfectly. Alien 3 is an awesome ending.
Perfect fucking ending.
Yeah. Yes.
And the ending to this is perfect. The inevitability of Skynet taking control. The fact that it doesn't matter. I mean, it very much would, what was the fucking latest Marvel Avengers thing?
Endgame?
Like the exposition they have where, you know, you can't change, you're not going to change shit. Yeah. You know, the fact that shows you the bleak truth of the fact it doesn't matter what moves we make or where we put John Connor, or, you know, the Terminator T-800 isn't going to waste its time trying to change the future. All it's going to do is make sure that John Connor gets there, because as long as John Connor gets safe, the future is going to be fine eventually. You're going to go through the same bullshit. The world's almost going to get destroyed and blah, blah, blah. But the film makes it clear in the exposition, which is good.
Yeah.
All that has to happen is John Connor has to survive. And if John Connor survives, in the end, there's going to be light at the end of the tunnel, because that's where the ultimate future is.
Yeah.
And I really like that idea, and I like the way it's executed. And I love that long shot where you're just seeing all the fucking
missiles. Yeah, the missiles going off and stuff. Yeah. Yeah, I guess, I mean, I don't really know that there's much more to say about Terminator 3. Like, I feel like we've adequately praised and ridiculed it for what it is. Like, I you know, it's one of those ones every now and then, like, I'll throw on Terminator 3 and every now and then, and, you know, cap it off with as a trilogy. But, you know, it's not always, but sometimes it's worth watching.
Yeah, about once every 10 years. Yeah, I think I've seen it 4 times.
Yeah, and that sounds about right for me too. Yeah.
If I watch Terminator 1 and 2 and I've just had such a good time, I want another Terminator film, I'm going to go into it knowing what I'm going to get. Yeah. And I know that I'm going to like the ending, and I'm going to have moments that I enjoy.
Yeah.
And that's not
Terminator 3.
It's not a recommendation. but it's certainly better than everything else Terminator that came out fucking after it. Like
avoid the new Terminator like the fucking plague. Terminator Dark Fate. Never fucking watch that. Never fucking never watch that.
No, Genesis. You haven't sat through Genesis. Genesis is worse.
Genesis. How is Genesis is really worse than Dark Fate?
Genesis is worse than Salvation. I thought Salvation was as bad as it. I mean, Salvation interestingly does what I said T3 should have done, which is goes, fuck everything. We're not going to even try to compete with what came in the past. We're going to make a new thing.
Yeah.
I don't know how you can make a John Connor story so goddamn fucking boring.
Yeah.
It's so goddamn boring. There is nothing interesting and so forgettable. Like, I can't even get into analyzing it in a fair way, Salvation, because I cannot remember jack shit about the film. There is not one scene that goddamn resonates in that film. I mean, you remembered an arm grab. I don't even remember that. I don't remember anything.
Yeah.
And to me, a forgettable film is the worst sort of film. But Genesis made me angry. Like, Genesis actively made me, Salvation put me to sleep. Genesis made me fucking mad. I was just like, what in the actual fuck? Like, and why the hell, not only what the hell did Arnold do signing on? Are you really that desperate? But how the hell did James Cameron endorse that shit? James Cameron endorsed Dark Fate as well.
Yeah, I know. Like, that's why. Like, I won't trust anything that James Cameron isn't directing himself, because he does tend to lend his name to a lot of bullshit if someone's going to give him a paycheck. So, unless he's directing it, I have no interest in what James Cameron's producing.
No, he likes money. He clearly. Yeah. I mean, and actually, on the topic of James Cameron, before we go back to Terminator films for a second, we must nod. Everyone needs to watch Future Man. Everyone needs to watch Future Man.
Future
James Cameron episode of Future Man and Future Man. That should incept everyone, right?
Yeah, I hope so, because Future Man does rule. And it ends fucking awesome, too. The finale to that show was great.
Well, because of the way that Future Man, too, after watching Future Man, Wolf is so fucking Reese.
He really is.
It's so fucking great. Like, Future Man is a film that salutes time travel and salutes Terminator so fucking heavily without ever... It does its own thing. Yeah, Future Man. Just that's
watch
enough.
Future Man. It's on Hulu.
Yeah. 3 seasons. It's glorious. It's wonderful. It'll make you laugh. You'll think that it's stealing from things, and then you'll say like it literally says out loud anytime it's stealing from something, which is it's so great.
Oh yeah, it's fucking awesome.
Like it actually says out loud. He never tries to pull a swift one or look at us being original. It's like no, we're literally shamelessly ripping this off, but we're putting it in a totally new context, and we're making you laugh your ass off. I mean, it's a dick and fart joke comedy that's so fucking smart in understanding quantum mechanics.
Yeah.
That is ridiculous. Rick and Morty and Future Man are like genius for understanding the mechanisms that make sci-fi.
Yeah, a fucking 1000%. Yeah. Watch Rick and Morty and Future Man. Like, and Brian, never watched Dark Fate. If you've never seen Dark Fate, never fucking watch it. And Jeremy, I'm sorry, it's not worth much that you didn't hate Dark Fate, because it's a fucking pile of shit. That movie's so bad. And I was kind of into it too for the first like 10 minutes. I remember going into Dark Fate, and it's got that cool fucking monologue from fucking Sarah Connor, and then that thing they did with John Connor, I thought that was kind of cool. But then it just goes fucking straight down. It doesn't even like decline; it just goes straight down a fucking the crapper.
What it does, without getting too into it, is it sets up in that opening 5 to 10 minutes a really original idea and a really fresh idea, and then it backpedals like no film I fucking can remember offhand to go, and now we're just going to tell the same exact fucking story you've seen 20 times.
But then it just gets so fucking absurd. Like, then it tries to do that thing where it like goes so over the top, like the Jeep going down the waterfall. Like, I was like, what the fuck? It just turns into a fucking, it sucks. Oh, and what they did to the fucking Terminator, like, is so fucking terrible. Arnold's Terminator in that is so bad.
Everything's bad.
Never watch it. So I guess we should. You want to fucking wrap up?
Chad, I'll just say, Chad, great call on Django. I'm just having a look at the notes here.
Oh, sure.
Great call on Django. Yeah, yeah. Even Christian Bale couldn't save Salvation, which really says something, because I'm a huge Salvation.
Yeah, Christian Bale does rule.
Yeah. I mean, everyone's comments have been so fucking good. Does Cameron have a favorite flick? I don't. Susan, can you clarify? Are you talking a favorite Terminator flick? Or are you saying a favorite flick of his own? Or are you saying a favorite flick that was ever made in the history of cinema? I've got to ask that question. So if you're still listening, if you could chime in with what you meant by a Cameron favorite flick, because there's lots of different answers. And I actually haven't got an answer to any of them, though, I must admit. I'm just hoping someone else that's reading, like Jeremy or Rick or someone has the answer to that question. Cool. Yeah, it seems like, I mean, we're going to have to go through and count, but it looks like it's pretty much going to be an even split between T2 and T1 from the people that are saying, yeah, John Connor has to survive the Terminator program to be what it became, right? Yep, mind blowing. Yep.
I think they do a good enough job of like keeping the time travel shit like not making your mind explode until you get to the third one. Because like when the third one rolled around, I was like, there was a couple times in the third one I was like, wait a minute, that doesn't make sense now.
Yeah. Well, the problem is, and here's another thing that Cameron's really cunning on, is any time the question of time travel comes in, it gets thrown away in a human way. Yeah. In other words, like Ed Furlong does acknowledge, oh shit, I've got to think that, only through time travel, my dad died before I was, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. And then he goes, it can make your head explode or it can hurt your head if you think about it too much. And it's a really good way to not get into the fucking reeds of it. Yeah. We often fall back on Looper being the best fucking film.
Looper is my favorite time travel movie.
The time travel exposition.
Yeah, my favorite time travel movie.
Exposition of I could sit here and draw a diagram or build you a model with straws or something.
Yeah.
That'd be a way. So like the way that it completely sidesteps trying to tell you the mechanisms of the time travel, which means you can't find a flaw in it. But the Terminator films do it really cleverly too. And I do like the way Edward Furlong has that throwaway line in T2 that acknowledges that if you do try and pull this apart too much, it's going to hurt your head and you're going to find paradoxes on paradoxes. Yeah. And the first film does it too at the end when Sarah says the same thing in the recorder pretty much and says, you could get, I can't remember her line, but it's essentially the same thing, if you think about this too much, it's going to hurt your head. So just fucking don't. Because, why that, it really happened to me. It really exists. It's a fact. What difference does it make if I understand it or not? And the fact that Reese turns around and has that great line in the first film too, where he says, I didn't build the fucking thing. Yeah. When the psychiatrist is trying to get into the reeds and try and trip him up, he goes, I didn't build the fucking thing. Yeah. It'd be like if I time travel and I try to explain television and go, how does television work? I can explain cathode and I can explain sort of, but could I build you a fucking television or if a scientist ask me how do you work a television, I can't explain television. I can't explain how fucking TV works.
Speaking of how things work, like I love Jeremy. Like Jeremy just popped in and said Primer might be the most plausible time travel. I fucking hate Primer so much. I know. Jerry, you were 100% correct, and Adam is going to agree with you 100%. I fucking hate Primer.
Primer is the single most fucking. Primer is the greatest time travel film ever made, and Primer is literally the most plausible, and it is exactly how it would happen if time travel was built right now. And the same sort of fuckheads that build it, on every level, Primer is a goddamn masterpiece. I love Looper. I'm not going to badmouth Looper at all. Looper's
I honestly think I'm going to watch Looper after we get off this conversation. I feel like that's a good movie to watch after watching Terminator, honestly.
Yeah, and Time Crimes rules. Time Crimes, I love Time Crimes purely because of the fact that it's one of the few time travel films, and certainly one of the first I'd seen, where it deals with a guy that doesn't not only know anything about time travel, doesn't even give a fuck once the rules are tried to explain to him, and just continues to destroy things. And it's such a funny fucking film on that level, because every time a time travel film, you've always got the guys who are dealing with it, who understand it on some level, or at least have rules. And go, these are the rules, you're not allowed to do this, and everyone tries to obey the rules. Whether or not they break the rules accidentally and shit is, but this guy just doesn't get, any time the scientists are trying, he's like, fuck you, I don't want to hear about it, I'm just going to do this. And just let's ruin everything. And it's hilarious. Predestination was fucking good fun too. Yes, mind fuckery. Yes, truly someone who fucks themselves. Yeah, I do love Predestination a lot. Even though it has a tell early in the film that I saw and stated out loud that meant that I actually not only guessed the ending, it kind of all fell into place far too quickly for me, but it didn't ruin it at all because it's a great fucking film.
Andrew Payne speaking my fucking language. Bill and Ted, you fucking know it, buddy. So soon now. So soon we get Face the Music. I can't even wait.
You and your Bill and Ted love. I'm not going to I like Bill and Ted. I like Bill and Ted too. I enjoy them, but yeah, I don't need a third one. And
I need a third one. The whole world needs a third one. The world is so fucking crazy right now. Everyone needs a little fucking Bill and Ted to put them back on fucking bad. Put them back on course.
I can't disagree that I'm a grumpy old man. I can't. I'm a curmudgeon reptilian.
And that's why you need some good-natured antics of Bill and Ted in your life. They just make everybody their message is so wonderful. They're the best.
Yeah, no, we should be excellent to each other. There is no denying. Rick Cramp is falling on your fucking side with primer is shit. Any movie that requires a lengthy explanation.
That movie fucking annoyed the shit out of me.
It doesn't need that though. The first time through you get it, and then the second time you get it more and more. It's so fun. I mean, I love watching that film, and every time. Yeah, I don't know. I didn't find it. I understand people that didn't get it, but you get it the first time. You really do. You just don't get everything of it. Same as Donnie Darko is another one that's fucking amazing. You know, and Donnie Darko technically could be a time travel film and not a time travel film, which is part of what I love about it.
That's all. I remember, like that's where that movie does lose me. Is once it starts to get into time travel, I was like, oh wait a minute, I like Donnie Darko up till that point.
Well, Donnie Darko, the reason that film's a fucking goddamn masterpiece, and I use that word very deliberately, is that film is like a litmus test for the viewer. That film is whatever you want it to be. If you want to go into that film and see a high school comedy, you can watch the film from that point of view completely and be satisfied. If you want to see a time travel film, you can watch it from that point of view. If you want to see a film about teen angst, you can watch it from that point of view. And the thing that's really cool about it that is why you revisit it is it's a film where you can just literally watch it from one person's point of view. And even when they're not on screen, just like how I talked about how the T-1000 and the T-800 is always in your mind in the films, even though they're not on screen for that much. You can do that with like 6 characters in Donnie Darko, like Grandma Death. Right from the start of that film, if you start imagining where's Grandma Death right now and what's she doing, and where is she at this point, and where is she at this point, that film can be the Grandma Death film. And it's fucking amazing when you watch it from that point of view and that perspective. I love Donnie Darko so fucking much. But
we all know the best time travel movie is Time Cop. I might watch Time Cop. Same matter can't occupy the same space. Come on, man.
Yeah, no, I mean that is the one good fucking thing about Time Cop. Really. I did not. I mean, I understand. I should watch it the right way. I probably watched Time Cop the wrong way.
Oh, I guarantee you watched Time Cop the wrong way. I fucking I guarantee you did. Time Cop is fun trash. I know. I do. It's fun trash.
I don't like.
It's trash.
I've tried like 4 times. I prefer to watch Death Warrant. If I'm watching Van Damme, I'll watch Death Warrant. The one where he's in prison. Yeah, Death Warrant. And the one where he's a twin, or is that Death Warrant as well?
I never saw that. Oh, wait a minute. No, I did see that one. Yeah, I know which one you're talking about. Double Impact.
Twin Van Damme. I mean, obviously, let's not get into it, but Bloodsport and Kickboxer are the only 2 Van Damme films that actually can be commended, and the rest are what they are.
Yes.
Oh, JCVD actually also.
Oh, yeah, JCVD rules.
Yeah, but anyway, we're not talking about that.
We're so off fucking track here.
I'm gonna also say that my favorite, so not the best time travel films are stuff like Primer, like Terminator, like Looper, what we've been talking about. But my sheer favorite one for time travel, the one that I'm always going to watch is the original Time Machine. The H.G. Wells Time Machine, the original one with Rod Taylor, was firstly the first time travel film I ever saw when I was like 5 or 6, and so all those time travel tropes were preloaded into me with that film. But every time I read, there's just like you talk about Bill and Ted, I kind of think I get the warm fuzzies from the original George Powell Time Machine that you get from Bill and Ted.
Yeah.
It's a security blanket. And the way that it deals with time travel as a 4th dimension, and the quandary that it leaves you with what 4 books would you bring back to create a new society or bring forward to make a society is a question that I still to this day toss around in my head. And the only answer I have is not the Bible. The one book I'm not taking anywhere is the Bible. That's the only one that I know for sure I'm not taking. But other than that, I've never been able to make a decision about what 4 books I would actually take.
I feel like I can do that right now. I feel like Meditations by Marcus Aurelius, the Hagakure by Yamamoto Tsunetomo, the Bhagavad Gita, and what's the other one I've got? I just read through like for the fucking 1000th time. Shit, I can't remember. I'm gonna look it up. Go back to. I'm sorry, but I've got 3 out of the 4 right off the top of my head.
I mean, those 3 are definitely in the conversation. Especially Marcus Aurelius. Fucking hell, I go back to that thing all the time.
That is my favorite book of all time. Meditations by Marcus Aurelius. Fucking the best book ever written on how to be a functional human being and functional, intelligent human being that deals with things rationally and fucking not losing your mind. Best book.
Yeah, no, it's a book. When I say I go back to that book, I sometimes just go back and go, I'm just going to read this one quote, and then I'm going to walk away for a year and ponder it. I mean, I read it numerous times when I was a teenager. Like, it was a book I actually, when I traveled, because I traveled around Europe and shit for like 10 odd years, Europe and Canada and shit, and I had a backpack. And in that backpack, was a few clothes and this collection of books. And it was one of the books that I just traveled with everywhere.
Yeah.
And would just, you're right. Like it's certainly one of the books that I would take. I can't deny that at all.
That's a good question though. Like that's a cool fucking thing to bring up. I'd be curious to see what your list looks like if you actually like wrote one up.
I've never been able to decide. You know me, I prefer the procrastination to the decision making. I prefer thinking about what 4 books to ever committing to what 4 books. Because no matter what 4 I commit to, I then have the honorable mentions list that's arguably longer. That's kind of what happens when I do it.
I know. Oh, God damn it. My other one. You know what? I'm gonna you continue talking to the audience and fielding questions. I'll be right back to get my other book.
Yep. Okay. Cool. Okay. So I'm going to stand over. Okay, Rick. Fair enough. I mean, I understand. By the way, to make it clear, like Primer is a film I totally understand people hating. Totally, it's not a film that I'm going to go, you're wrong. I mean, I say it to John, but I'm just being a shithead. Like Primer is not a film for everyone. I totally get it, and I totally get if that bugs you. I understand. Whereas to me, I love my riddles, man. I love things that don't fall apart under analysis, but that constantly make me want to go back and observe them even more. And that goes for life, universe, and everything as well as art. I'm a sucker for that shit. I mean, as I just said, I'm a procrastinator, not a decision maker. And I like the ambiguities and I like I mean, not that that film's ambiguous, it's just, it's really complex and dense. And yeah, the more you dig into it, the more you get out of it. And yeah, I do know, that's the other thing, is it's a film that I've never bothered to go and read, like, analysis of that someone's actually done or anything. Same as Donnie Darko. I know that they exist where people have pulled the films apart and shit, but I'm not even interested in reading those because I don't want to. I'm happy with my own interpretation of the film. But yeah, I'm not going to prime it. Fair enough. I understand people fucking hating it. I understand people hating 90% of films that I like. 90% of films in general. And not that many films are made and designed for a broad audience to make the maximum amount of money possible. And they're the films where when they succeed, like, I mean, even Star Wars, which is something that is literally designed to have the most audience possible. There's plenty of people who don't fucking like it, and that is literally something that's engineered to try and be popular. And yes, what is the book, sir?
Oh no, I was gonna say I'm one of those people, but I also.
Yeah, no. I know. You used to be on our side, and then you weren't. Yep.
J. Krishnamurti, Freedom from the Known. That would be my other book.
One. Yeah. Okay.
Those are my 4. I would rebuild a civilization with those books.
They're certainly right answers. You could certainly build a. So I mean, except for that last one, which I haven't read yet, but I'm sure knowing the other 3 you've chosen, fine fucking choices, and we've got some really good choices coming here too. As I said, Nietzsche and stuff. Triangle. Yeah, Triangle. I don't know why they didn't connect with me, Susan. I did try with Triangle. Triangle. I think it had a great concept. Yeah. It just didn't stick the landing. Like, again, there was too many things that it left me thinking about that didn't work.
Yeah.
But I did like the concept. And part of it that also didn't work was that it was really predictable. Triangle really, unfortunately, John and I watch. I mean, I know Susan, you watch too many fucking films too, so I'm not going to. But when you watch a number of things, and especially me as a writer, like I'm always watching a film from the point of view of a writer. I can't help it. I can't help but go, okay, you've set up this premise. What would I do with it? And, the Triangle just was really obvious to me. And so I wasn't intrigued with it the way I probably should have been, which isn't a testament to it being badly made or anything. It just didn't do it for me. But that's not that I'm not saying everyone else shouldn't watch Triangle, because you probably fucking should.
Buddy, we've gone way over our 1 hour limit that we set for ourselves, just so you know.
Oh, have we? How long have we been babbling?
We've been fucking bullshitting for almost 2 hours now.
Oh, we better go then. We better go. I'm sorry for tying everyone up for that long. Did Carruthers write Triangle? You asshole. Yes, Rick. Yes, he did. I mean, I love Upstream Color too, so I'll just go on record saying Upstream Color fucking rules. And Carruthers is making a 3rd film, and then he's not making any more films because Hollywood sucks and financing is a dick. And Primer, just the budget. I won't get tied up in budget. Anyway, Terminator. I fall on the Terminator 1 camp, but T2 is a great film too. John?
T2 all the way, baby. Although T1 is fucking obviously amazing. They're both amazing films, and you should never watch one without watching the other, ever.
Yeah, no, that is absolute truth. Yeah, both of them need to. It's like Godfather 1 and 2. You can't watch one without the other. In fact, I've never actually seen Godfather 1 without Godfather 2. I've also never seen Wrath of Khan without Search for Spock. And I've watched them hundreds of times, but I've never, and this is the same. The only time I saw Terminator without Terminator 2 was on VHS before Terminator 2 existed. As soon as both of them existed, I've never watched one without the other.
Yeah, same here. Like, yeah. And T3.
And so, yeah, anyone that didn't
maybe watch T3 if you want.
Yeah, you can watch T3 if you're really hungry for some more Terminator and don't quite. I mean,
you could do worse than T3. You could by literally watching any of the other Terminator films, you could do worse. So there you go.
That's a fine place to end up, dude. This was so much fun.
It was. This was really great. If you guys like this, if you want us to see us do more, like just have like a conversation about two films that we really love, like I think this would be really fun to keep doing, or like a trilogy even. Oh, that would be fun. Like
yeah. I mean, there's plenty of great trilogies. Plenty.
Yeah.
We could discuss the Three Colors trilogy, because that's the fucking greatest trilogy.
Which one?
The Three Colors trilogy: red, white, and blue.
Oh, I don't.
Kowalski. It's a Russian trilogy. I mean, I'm not actually being facetious, but I also know that that's not the type of films that we're talking about. You know, but yeah, there's plenty of trilogies that we would happily talk about. I mean, man, Back to the Future obviously is a no-brainer, especially after.
Yeah, that would be fun. That would be a fun one to do.
You know, yeah, I mean, yeah.
I feel like we should do like a Lethal Weapon series. I wonder if anybody would be interested in going down the Lethal Weapon rabbit hole, because that's an interesting one.
Yeah, I mean, the first film is one of my all-time favorite fucking films in any genre, any time. I love the first one, and the second one is a really good sequel, but noticeably a lesser film.
If you guys have any like, this is, I feel like this is a good way to end this show. Is like, if you like this episode that we just did today, and you would like to see more like this, we're both loving the comfort food format, obviously, because it's just an awesome way to talk about movies that we just fucking love. But if you like this like special thing that we did, where we're just kind of taking two movies and comparing them, and if like there's any like trilogies or fucking sequels or something that you'd like to see us talk about, fucking fire them off in the comments, because I would be happy to do this again. This was a great time.
It really, really was. And we're loving this, the Freeback. Rick just told us we really cooked dinner and then ate in front. Oh, and then he shit stirred and said Lord of the Rings versus The Hobbit.
Oh, dude, the Mad Max, though. Mad Max would be fun. We did that once. We watched all of them one day. And
yeah, we did.
Yeah, that was a very, like, we're all over the place on that too. But we both agree that Thunderdome is kind of an amazingly made piece of shit.
Yeah, I do not like that. I don't watch Thunderdome unless I absolutely have to.
Thunderdome is bad, but Thunderdome is so fucking well made. It's so well made. Yeah. But it's so bad. Yeah, I mean, it's Spielberg's Hook with fucking. I like Hook. I think Hook is fun. You don't like Hook? Yeah, except it's 10 hours too long. It is long, but it's such a sumptuous feast, that movie, for the fucking eyes. That movie's so well made. Yeah, it is. I mean, I'm not as much in the camp on Hook as you are, but it's okay. Reboots. Oh, such a good fucking one, Susan. Yeah, we should do a reboot. Yeah, let's do a reboot episode. Yeah, and that's not to say that all the other ones weren't great. But I'm already on the but like that. Yeah, we could like really pick, because I that is one of the things that I feel like people shit on a lot, is reboots. Whereas reboots or fucking remakes are just like, who fucking cares? Some of the best movies are fucking remakes. Like, I don't understand. Yeah, well, I mean, someone just talked about The Wizard of Oz being James Cameron's favorite film. That's a fucking remake. Yeah. Yep. You know, the Judy Garland Wizard of Oz is a remake. Yeah. You know? Yep. And the other thing that I find really interesting, not to get too into the reads with it, because I'm going to end up repeating myself once we do this episode, but remakes have always been a thing in Hollywood, and there used to be way more remakes than there are now. Everyone's like, oh, it's barely bankrupt. No. If you look at the 30s, 40s, and 50s, it seems like half of the films are goddamn remakes. Yeah. And they do remake on the remake on the remake on the remake. I mean, how many versions of His Girl Friday are there? Jesus Christ. There's like, remakes have always been a thing. It's not this new thing that, that's great. And some of the best films, like Ben-Hur, everyone thinks of Ben-Hur as this great. It's a fucking remake. The Charlton Heston Ben-Hur is a remake. Not the new remake, because that's a remake of a remake. You know, it's silly that people. Yeah, we could really have some fun with that topic. I think that would be a really fun topic to maybe pick like 6, maybe like a few of our 3 of our favorite reboots each or something, or remakes. Well, I was going to say we'd have to limit it, because we're talking about 2 films right now, and we've just we've fucking already talked for 2 hours. You're right. We thought we were only going to talk for an hour. Yeah. Yeah, let's get off of here and we'll organize that though. We like that idea. That's a great idea.
Maltese goddamn Falcon, yes, Chad. Maybe my number one. Maybe. Yeah, amazing.
Fucking, oh, this was amazing. So.
Okay, let's just do the plugging, by the way. Facebook, Twitter, YouTube channel, Letterboxd, and Film Frak Adam, Film Frak Jon. And actually, I think I'm just I'm Film Frak Adam. I think on Letterboxd off the top of my head.
I can't remember.
You're Film Frak Jon on Letterboxd. But I'm going to put a link in sometime to that. Or if you go to the YouTube channel, actually, everything I post on YouTube has a link to our Letterboxd. If you ever wanted to keep track in real time of what we watch stuff and we log it straight away there. And that way you actually have spoilers for each podcast because you know already what we kind of think. We don't write reviews, but we do certainly fucking offer our star rating straight away.
Yep.
And your website, JC Art, right?
Oh, yeah, my website, John Karen Art. I'm coming up on the end of the old unemployment, as everybody knows. The old unemployment starts to run out in like a couple weeks, and then I honestly don't know if I have a job to go back to. So check out my website, and I'm a content creator, graphic designer, fucking illustrator. So check out my website, and if there's anything I can do for you or your business, fucking let me know, because right now I would love nothing more than to just continue working on my own for my business. It's been fucking great. So.
As amazing as John is as a fucking podcaster, and you're all agreeing with that, he's even better at fucking shooting shit, drawing shit, creating shit. Seriously, and I'm not just saying that because he's my friend. No, we're talking shit. We're both fucking. I think I'm better at talking shit, but at least I know I like the sound of my own voice more. Anyway, we've got to go because wrapping up's always the hardest thing, right? We never want to say goodbye to you, and I never want to say goodbye to you, everyone. We love you. We'll be back.
Yes. Oh, good one. I see what you did there. Whew, you sly boots. All right, guys. See you later.